To the European Union now, where they know they're in a spot of trouble after the election earlier this year in June, where it was a very different European Union that met afterwards. Why? Because large swathes of their 27 country states had said, we're electing right-wing members now because we're sick of the mass immigration flooding into our countries. You will remember that the backlash in France was so severe that President Macron went to a snap election saying, well, my lot, the lefties, have clearly lost the will of the people, so we need to go to a snap election. Since then, in July, the Netherlands have finally sworn in their right-wing government, again, ran on anti-immigration. A few months later, Austria elected the Freedom Party, again, ran on anti-immigration. This just keeps becoming a massive issue for the EU as they lose more and more control over their own member states. So what do? They get the European Council on Foreign Relations to roll out a report warning that whiteness and Europeanness is the danger going forward. Not citing economic or energy issues, not citing mass immigration, the rocketing crime, etc. and so on. No, it's the Europeanness of Europe that is posing a massive problem. Let's read from this report. It says in most countries, non-white and Muslim people were underrepresented in candidate lists. No more than 20 non-white MPs were elected this year, less than 3% of the total and well below the 10% share that racial and ethnic minorities are estimated to account for in the EU. Where do these people get the gall? You'll notice it's never African countries that have pressure placed upon them to have some whites in their parliament. Never in the Asian countries are we like, wait, what about the white representation in your parliament? And don't even get started on the Arab states. No, it's always the Europeans. It's always the white countries, Canada, the US, Australia. We obsess over this. Let's return to the report. It says far-right parties appeared to be on the rise in almost every member state, usually issuing promises to stop immigration or even planning, as the Alternative for Germany or AFD did, to expel large swathes of the population. Worse still, parts of the European political mainstream, especially among centre-right and liberal parties, certainly appeared to embrace elements of a xenophobic view of the world, as reflected in the EU's new Migration and Asylum Pact adopted in April, or in political proposals to send refugees to third countries, both of which raised major human rights questions. It's almost like they're wagging the finger at Hungary, who has said, you can keep sending illegals here, we're just going to bus them to Brussels. And Germany, who has recently announced much more strict border control after they copped a belting at the state election, and the federal government there got really worried because their election's coming up less than a year from now. Why is it that everyone's allowed to enjoy living amongst white people in nations founded by white people, except for white people? If we want to keep Hungary for Hungarians, or as Geert Wilders said ad nauseum during the debates in the Netherlands, we want to keep the Netherlands Dutch. We are being overrun, and I promise you I'm going to fix that. Why is it only white countries who are ever demonised for saying, hey, we kind of like things the way they are, we want to keep our country Dutch, we get belted for it? I mean, here in Australia, that ship has sailed with 1 in 3 not even born in the country. But these are countries who this is via mass immigration only, quite a lot of it illegal, and they're trying to save their country.
It's a strange thing, isn't it? Because you don't have any politicians in Africa, and I love Africa, I've been there many times, but you don't have any African politicians saying Africa's too black.
I know.
We've got to change it. It's only
get more Asians in here.
Exactly. It's only in Europe where Europeans are a danger to Europe.